Hello again. Right, little bit of a different story this time. We're going back to the Northcote Heavy Horse Centre, and this is a short story from where I first began writing for myself. I've been writing for newspapers for several years. In fact, I started working in newspapers when I left school as a copywriter for the advertising department and a space salesman and reader and all kinds of things. You can read about that in another bit. But this was when I wrote some short articles for the local paper, my last employer, Morton's Group, who ran a series of local newspapers in Lincolnshire. And they added my diary stories to some cartoons drawn by a local lady, and they were I think they were very entertaining. So this is that's Mongo. He wants his tea. They hear things, going down the road, and oh dear, what a racket. Right, so this is the first one. It's about Meldrew. Now, Meldrew was a Admiral, our Suffolk Punch horse, a rescued horse. He had a nasty corn on the inside of his foot, and this needed treating, obviously, but like hell he wasn't going to let us look at it. And Gillian came to give me a hand because it was beyond me and it needed some special attention. Julian, our vet. So this is a story of what Meldrew did with us. I hope you enjoy it. It's called Meldrew. But before we begin, we're going to give you a small introduction to the stories which come from the Northcote Heavy Horse Centre in rural Lincolnshire. In the years 1998 and 1999, I was asked by the Morton's Group of newspapers to produce a monthly series of diary stories of life at the Heavy Horse Centre. These were accompanied by very amusing illustrations by local artist Janet Allinson, and I'm going to include a couple of these pictures in these first two stories. So Meldrew begins on a Monday in February. We had a cheery letter from Andy and Michelle today. They had spent their last holidays with us helping to tidy up the centre and repair Goliath's special crane. Note for readers and listeners who are not up in the horse world, Goliath, or Golly, to his friends, was a 21-year-old black shire horse. He was the Guinness record holder, tallest horse for years and years, and came to live at the Northcote Centre in 1992 because severe arthritis made his back legs very stiff and so weak he could not get himself up from the lying down position. No one else would take on Golly as a patient, and so he came to Lincolnshire. Back to our story, and Andy, who helped to build earth-moving machinery for a living, is used to big jobs. While I assisted him, Michelle, his wife, was helping with the horses. They'd spent 3 holidays with us by now and were excellent company, hard-working and very good fun. Andy had thought of another idea to finish the crane adaptation that he'd originally built to lift Goliath, and hopefully we were going to ensure we could lift him clear of the ground every time. The old Ford Major tractor now had 2 hydraulic rams on a crane jib at one end and a half-ton of concrete fastened on the other end. A visitor with fascinating sense of humour had pointed out that the whole machine should break in half somewhere just in front of the gearbox. Fortunately, Goliath is not too well up on hydraulics and mechanics and looked on the work of the restoration unconcerned. Now on to Meldrew. Our vet was coming today to sort out Admiral and give Bonnie a check over for his bad breathing problems. Admiral, the Suffolk horse, is particularly belligerent, and we've thought of calling him Meldrew. There was something wrong with one of his front feet. The other foot already had a hereditary problem, and that was the reason why he was living with us. he was determined that we were not going to lift up his foot and take a look. Julian, his vet, had given him an anaesthetic. Admiral began to look droopy, and we got ready to have a look. Admiral had other ideas, and despite the shot and his droopy demeanour, he was still very determined we were not going to have a look. He backed us both into a steel girder and threw his foot and foreleg about so much he caught me unawares and put Julian onto the floor. "Right," said Julian, "we'll try some local shots into his lower leg to freeze it." The shots went in eventually after some more contortions, and we stopped for a coffee and well-earned break, leaving Admiral drooping quietly. 15 minutes later we were back. The local anaesthetic should have really made some difference. At this stage perhaps we should mention that Admiral is a 17-year-old Suffolk horse, a truly rare breed and the only one in Lincolnshire at that time. He stood 17 hands high and weighed just over 1,200 kilos of solid muscle and bone. After another 10 minutes of still being thrown around and all the injections not really making much difference to our geriatric quadruped, we did have finally made little headway and managed to spray a good burst of blue-dyed antibiotic spray on the inside of his foot and half of it all over me. Meldrew won another round. Right, they've gone for the moment. I hope you enjoyed that short story. There's another one coming up in a little short while. So that was about Admiral of Suffolk. He put Julian down in a big way. Julian actually flew right across the floor and landed in a heap of straw. And he caught me in a very unfortunate place that gives you a lot of pain. He was all right eventually, but he was a big strong horse. Suffolk Punches, as you probably know, are the rarest of England's breed of heavy horses. Is English, not Scottish or Welsh or British. They're English, and there's very few of them left now. They come from East Anglia. They're very heavy, the heaviest of all the heavy horses. Suffolk Punch, it's like a big barrel with a leg at each corner. Right, now before we go, Buzzsprout. There are, a lot of folks I know listen to stories on their phones. You can download stories, blogs and all kinds of things like that. So I know my daughter does, Helena does, and I don't know if she listens to mine. But anyway, these are short stories. There are almost 200 of them. I'm going to put a link on here while we're doing this, a Blogspot, and you can download them free of charge. Onto anything you use, any phones or tablets, anything you like, and listen to them when you like. They're not long enough to take up a lot of space, so you can download them without any fear of gobbling up your space on your piece of equipment. So anyway, have a look at Blogspot, choose something, listen to it. You'll find a lot of them are very amusing. Thanks for being with us today.